Zero. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this edition of the Shelbyville Now Weekend Wrap Up, the news that matters. I'm David Thomas. This is Mr. Josh Blevins here. Josh, very eventful week. We had a lot of stuff happening, and you were right in the middle of it.
Right in the middle of it, a lot going on,
Yeah.
and we'll have plenty to talk about here in a minute.
All right, well, let's pause and hear a word from our sponsor, Dennis Young Insurance, and we'll jump right in.
With the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 1988.
All righty, we're back in here now. Josh, you've got a lot of stuff, and of course, everything revolves around Election Day.
Everything this week revolves around Election Day. But before we get into the week that happened, I just we'd be remiss if we didn't start with this Veterans Day weekend.
Right.
Veterans Day is on Monday. A lot of government offices and stuff closed. But we've got the Veterans Day Parade coming up at 11 o'clock this morning. I'll be there. We had the VFW breakfast this morning that I was at. And if it were not for our veterans, we wouldn't be sitting here doing this show. So it's, it's important. If you're able to get out to the parade. We talked back around Memorial Day how bad the turnout was at our Memorial Day celebration we had on the square. And it would be sad if we had the same thing for Veterans Day. So hopefully a lot of people can turn out. Yeah. Weather's great. Rain's holding off, it looks like.
So when's the parade?
Parade starts at 11 o'clock this morning on the square. Normal parade route, just like the Christmas parade and all the rest of them. So, get down there and see the parade if you can. Also, just want to go backwards real quick. An event that we were at, and I hadn't gotten a number till I got something in the mail this week, but we had the Senior Center fundraiser a couple weeks ago, and they were able to raise $6,000 at that, which was really good. So just appreciate everybody that came out and bought barbecue and bought stuff from the silent auction and whatnot. Their whole budget from the city is $20,000. So, $6,000.
That's a major deal.
Yeah, that's a big deal for them. So, kudos to everybody that showed up for that. But on the week that just happened, for the wrap up, the big day, Tuesday was Election Day. So you were on the air starting at 6:45.
We had a crew. We had 6 people sitting around this table.
Had a crew
and had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
a lot of interaction with some people out there that were watching. We had a good audience. Had some big numbers there, and of course, everybody was focused on the city election that watched this.
Yeah,
and I'm sure everybody had maybe their phones up or their tablets up watching this, and then the eye on the big screen at home watching that presidential.
Big election. Yeah.
Which, local election came in, and you've got all the numbers, and you want to run over those real quick to talk about who won what.
Real quick, we'll cover who won what. Just so we make sure we covered it. It was on the show, but obviously Ward 1, uncontested, Mr. Feldhouse got back in with 99% of the vote. Oddly enough, he was running against nobody.
Exactly.
So,
where was the 1%? Was there a write-in or something?
There was a write-in. Yeah, five people did a write-in.
Okay.
So, Ward 3, Betsy Noel won. She got 45% of the vote. Gary Hale got 32%, and Mr. J.D. Daniel got 21%. And then in my ward, Ward 5, Josh Blevins won that with 42%. Dee McCullough got 38%, and Stephanie Isaacs got 19%. So that was so I'll be starting off in Ward 5 in December. Betsy will be starting in Ward 3 in December. And then Mr. Feldhouse, he'll just be right back where he's been in Ward 1 for a lot of years.
Two seats change.
Two change. The
And
rest are staying.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Just wanted to talk turnout real quick. Overall in the county, because we've been posting these numbers every day as we went through the early voting,
right.
we hit a good number. Actually, at the tie end to what I'd guessed, we hit 69% in the county.
I didn't see that coming. Was that up from the last election?
That is far, yeah, I think that was up from the 2020 election. I didn't have the final numbers from 2020, but I think we did surpass that. We had over 20,000 people voted in the county, which is good. But just because I'm a numbers nerd, I dug into some of them in my ward, and part of the reason that I was able to get into the seat, and people that were here longer weren't able to, is because the turnout at a couple of my Ward 5 precincts was really low. Particularly South Side, 53%, so just a little over half at South Side. Deary Aiken, less than 50%, 49%. And the worst one of all was Thomas. And now this is just people voting at Thomas that live in Ward 5. Thomas covers more than Ward 5. Thomas overall had, a decent turnout, 50 or 60%. But of people living in the city that voted at Thomas, only 36% of them showed up to vote. So I don't know what the reasoning was there, if they just weren't motivated by this election, if they didn't think it mattered or whatever. So that was a big part of it. And actually that event that I went to maybe 3-4 weeks before the election, their whole theme of that event, which was put on by the Listening Project, was that renters vote. And the irony is, in this particular election, Thomas is where most of those renters are at, and for whatever reason, they didn't vote this election. So it would have been a whole different election if they had actually voted. If they had 60 or 70% there, I wouldn't be sitting here this morning as the winner. I'd be sitting here talking about who had won, probably.
Yeah, and probably there would be no change in that seat.
Yeah, it may not have been a change in the seat. So yeah, for whatever reason. And then the other thing that we talked about it, or you guys talked about it mainly that night, is did the money that was put into the race make a difference? And I think you told me your feeling was maybe not.
No, I don't think so. Here's the thing, Josh. I think that just looking at your campaign and the way things play out, a good candidate that gets out and meets people, shakes their hand, lets them know, I want to represent you, and they're sincere about it, and let the chips fall. I just think it's the traditional ground game. It's what wins elections in Bedford County. Now, you can ask a consultant in Nashville how to do it, and they're going to tell you the more money you spend, the better off you are.
Right.
All the presidential elections, look at this. Donald Trump spent a lot less money than Kamala Harris had. She had billions of dollars.
Right.
And she blew it, and he did it. All right, I think that's another proof right there. When you've got the right candidate hitting the sweet spot, that's what wins.
Yeah.
Not money.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes
money buys footballs.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had footballs.
And they're pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. But the thing about it, it's not about the football.
Right.
It's about the name on the football.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's what it gets down to. And of course, you look at your two opponents. One's lived here all his life, great reputation, great guy.
Yeah.
And then you had a lady that's not. I don't think she's been born here, but she's
lived
incumbent
here a lot longer. Yeah.
And I think basically people looked at her situation, Bubba D's situation, your situation, and who is this Josh Blevins guy? Well, your neighborhood knew you.
Yeah, the people in my immediate
the people that knew you voted for you.
Yeah, and that was the big, we mentioned that on election night. I lost every neighborhood but mine. I was either tied in or lost. So it was the people that lived in Union Station, which is where I live and where I walk the neighborhood almost every day. Anytime the weather's good, I'm walking the neighborhood and meet people and say hi and shake their hands. And, well before I was even considering politics, from the day I moved in the neighborhood, and that face to face, knowing your neighbors.
But see, I think your campaign started 2 years ago.
Yeah.
going to meetings, getting
Right.
involved in the process.
Yeah.
I think that's worth so much more than throwing money at something.
Yeah, then running a lot of ads.
You look at Donald Trump.
signs.
He campaigned
Yeah.
for 4 years.
Yeah.
He had rallies,
Yeah.
rallies. You saw it constantly. You saw it constantly. And yeah, those cost money. But his willingness to speak and talk and interact
and get out there.
outran Kamala Harris's one-liners and all the money she blew.
Right. And all the ads.
So I think it plays down to, did PAC money make a difference? No, I don't think it had a bit of difference in this race.
Yeah. And I just want to say that we've already had a council meeting. Obviously, I'm not connected to the council until after. I'm not even officially the winner until after the election
Right.
commission in a couple of weeks certifies it. But I had a good long conversation with Betsy Noel. She, we had a really good conversation. We're actually going to talk again next week. And she wanted to point out a couple things, which is that even though obviously the PAC gave her a lot of money, she gave them very specifically on the front end that she was going to run an independent campaign and that she was not going to allow them to pull any strings, that she's for the people and that
Right.
she's for the people in her area. And she also felt like maybe some of the stuff that we'd said, I want to be clear because I don't think we said this specifically, but she felt like when we were talking about it may have been during the broadcast, I wasn't here that evening, talking about people that wouldn't go on an interview, that we never reached out to Betsy directly and asked her for an interview here at Shelbyville Now. We reached out to Dee only. And that's why she didn't turn us down or did not come on the air here. We just assumed because he didn't respond that she would, and that was what went on there. So,
Well, honestly,
Yeah.
I'd say this every time we talk about elections. I want
Yeah.
every candidate to sit down
right,
and just go through that process. It's nothing. It costs nothing. It's
Yeah.
free. It's a public service, so everybody will get exposure
yeah,
equally. All right. I didn't contact each person individually
right,
to do that. However, I tried to indirectly reach out to each one
yeah,
because some of them I don't know.
Yeah.
But that invitation stands today.
Oh yeah, and
In
actually, I
2026.
invited her when I talked to her Thursday. I said
Right.
we'd love to just
Yes.
still sit down and talk. Yeah.
But the invitation stands.
Yeah.
And people say they don't watch this.
Yeah.
Okay, but I got news for you. People are watching.
Yeah.
We found out that people actually watch
Yeah,
because somehow everybody knows what I say
right.
or what you say
Oddly
because it
enough.
gets quoted all over the place.
Yeah.
And that guy asked me at the ball game last night, well, see, you survived. You didn't get shot. I'm like, what? I'm not Trump. I mean,
Right.
what? But nobody watches us
Yeah.
because we're fake news and we're
Yeah.
misinformation and all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
but it's kind of funny the way all these things play around.
Right.
But this Shelbyville Now, I'm just going to make a plug. Shelbyville Now is here for the public. We're here
Yeah.
we're not here for any government entity. However, government is for and by the people. We're here
Right.
for the people. So automatically, our government officials are automatically invited to sit down at any time. No trick questions. We'll talk about whatever you want to. We'll talk about the weather if you want to.
Right.
But people need to hear our elected representatives talk and prospective elected representatives talk.
Right.
The floor is always open.
Yep.
It's here. The
Anytime.
mic is here.
Yeah.
All you got to do is call.
Yeah.
Okay.
Call the number. I think if the
It's-
scroll's working, it's still
yes,
got my cell
that's
phone
your
number
cell
running
phone
across the
number,
bottom.
and
I'm
on our
always available. Yeah.
website, the phone number's blasted everywhere, and we've got email and we've got private message. All you got to do is say, "Hey, I'd like to come on the show."
Yeah, and we'll do it.
Automatic. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
I mean, talking to people is fun, man.
Right, that's what we do.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so we're gonna move off election day into the rest of the week now. Wednesday we got our city police stats, which we like to always go over because we're big fans of our city police department. They had 2,086 calls for service in the month of in October, which was very similar to the previous month, September, which was 2,076. They sped up the response time again. They went to under 4.5 minutes, which is very impressive. 48,206 miles patrolled. Busiest time of day is 6 p.m. to midnight. On the west side, my side of town, unfortunately, we had a few more calls, 37 than the previous month. South side calls went down 26. Biggest things that stuck out to me stats wise was our traffic accidents became the highest number of calls. We had 77 traffic accidents within the city in the month of October, and DUIs, which obviously can be connected to traffic accidents, those went up from 6 to 14 in the month. So
That's unfortunate there.
yeah, those are things we don't want to see going up. One positive, domestic calls went down from 72 the previous month to only 59. So again, shout out to our city police department, which actually leads me into my next item, which Wednesday, same day that the stats came out, I was minding my own business, driving over to the square, and a little guy in an orange jumpsuit is running. And I'm thinking, a little guy in an orange jumpsuit shouldn't be running across town behind coffee beans. And next thing you know, there's a city police car chasing him. And then there's another city police car. And then there's a third one. And they're driving through the grass, and they're driving over the sidewalks, and the little kid's running. And they caught him over next to, what is it, Absolute Auto, I think, over there. There's
That's not very far from
he didn't run very far, but I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, I guess, and saw it all happen, heard some of it on the scanner, but not sure what went on with our old juvenile detention center there, but I don't think kids in orange jumpsuits should be able to get out of there and start running across downtown. So hopefully
this one
they'll
did,
fix
but
whatever
I
the
gotta
problem
ask
was.
you this: how in the world did police get there that quick?
I think one of them had to have seen him, because
Had to.
the traffic on the scanner sounded like maybe they knew about it before the people in the detention center knew about
Somebody
it.
was
So
patrolling, saw it happen.
saw the guy running, I think. I mean, he stuck out. He was in a
Well,
big
and
old
it's
orange
right next to
jumpsuit.
City Hall. I mean,
Yeah.
for the police department, it's right there.
It was pretty close.
So,
yeah, but
not a good strategic move.
no, not a good move on the kid's part. And hopefully, in all seriousness, though, hopefully whoever works at juvenile detention figures out how the kid got out, so they plug
Maybe that
hole
gate
or
needs to
whatever
be
it
locked
is.
up
So,
or something.
yeah.
You know.
So Thursday morning, just
Oh wow. Yeah.
nothing to really report, but the mayor and I and Marilyn Ewan, we were at the Veterans Coffee Hour at the Rosenwald Center, just one of many events that have been going on over the weekend and the week, celebrating our veterans. Actually, I stumbled across before the city meeting. I didn't even know what was happening. They had a special city ceremony, 5:00 Thursday night, where they honored all the veterans that work for city government, which there were a ton of them. It was a full parking lot. So, so good on our city. And I think the county is going to do the same thing before their meetings on Tuesday as well. They're also going to recognize the veterans that work on county government. So Thursday as well. Thursday, I was minding my own business, getting my hair cut, and my phone started blowing up.
This happens all the time, Josh.
I'm not even trying to do anything. I'm just sitting there, and we had what initially was reported as a bomb threat at Shelbyville Central. And as you heard, partway through the afternoon, while we didn't have the solid final information, we'd heard there was C4, there was guns, there was 3 kids arrested. All these stories get spread. And when it all shook out, which we got final good information from the sheriff's department, it ended up a kid brought a couple Japanese, had really been grenades back in the day, in his backpack to school, and reported them himself to somebody that he had them.
I don't get that.
Yeah, well, like why he reported on himself, that I don't know. But yeah.
Did he think, I forgot about these things being here?
Yeah, I wonder if he forgot. Yeah, now that part of the story I don't have. But one little interesting backstory that I did pick up later on in the week was the reason they took this so seriously is there was a recent case, which I should have done more research to find out where it was at. But I got this solid from the sheriff's department. There was a recent case somewhere in the U.S. of a kid bought one of these Japanese grenades at a flea market, took it home, pulled the pin out at home, and the explosive had not been fully removed.
Oh, wow.
And it killed the kid.
My goodness.
So the reason they took this so seriously, and they
yeah.
brought in the bomb squad, the state bomb squad came in, everybody, they cleared the building. They weren't going to even let the kids that drove cars, they weren't even going to let them drive their cars back home until they knew everything was secure. But they were able to, the bomb squad checked them out, and they were actually fully disarmed. So there was no explosive involved. But that's why it was taken so seriously at the time. And I would imagine the poor kid that brought him, I believe there was a quote in there, this is one of those new zero tolerance kind of things.
Right.
So I don't think he'll be back at the school system for another year. So, but hats off also to our sheriff's department. They handled it very quickly, and they did a good job. City police got down there. There was a lot of traffic issues, and they were directing traffic. I heard they were even manually moving some of the traffic signals there on Madison Street to get cars in and out. So
let's talk about the kid for a minute.
Yeah.
don't have an idea who the kid is.
No,
Let's just think
nothing.
about this.
No.
Let's commend the kid for thinking twice
Right.
and saying, I shouldn't have done that. That was bonehead.
Yeah.
Maybe I better tell somebody.
Yeah, I guess.
You
I mean,
know-
on the other hand, also you're thinking, man, you're a bonehead. to
Exactly.
begin with. So
Exactly.
there's,
But
there's
at least
bonehead
there was,
and not bonehead.
but there was a
yeah.
second thought of, man,
Yeah.
this is not good.
Right. Yeah.
So at least that second chance judgment there
Yeah.
got this. Where what if it had have happened just like the other child?
Oh, sure. What if it really was?
I mean, at least the
Yeah.
kid had the mind
Yeah.
to say, I better tell somebody.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so that was good, and it all ended well, which was good. So then Thursday, the only big meeting of the week was our city study session on Thursday evening, and there's a lot going on in the city right now, I'll tell you. We started off with the which I got my paper here somewhere. We have Spring Street, which is the street that runs between Glass Hollow and the new Grindstone Cowboy
Right.
there, and around the back. And they are going to vote next week at the session to go ahead with what they're calling phase 1 of the new parking in behind there. And there's currently 38 parking spaces out in front of the Fly. And when they're done with phase 1, there will be 63 parking spaces there. So that's a good improvement.
okay, so the last time we talked about this was left hanging because there were different owners involved. So does
Yes.
this mean that all 3 owners now are on board and have done the property?
Not 100%. So here's what happened. There's 2 parcels of land back there, which the city bought all of one parcel because
Right.
it was easy to get a hold of. The other parcel was passed down through so many inheritances that there's a 4th owner that's still dangling out there. They can't get a hold of
Okay.
this 4th person.
But they're not
So-
building on that piece.
Now, what they're doing is they're using the word condemnation. I would call it what we would used to consider eminent domain is what I would call
Oh.
it. But basically, they're taking over the piece of property they're using a legal method to take over the last quarter ownership of that piece of property. They have to keep some amount of money available to pay this person if they can get a hold of them.
So they're
based on
going to
market
use it
value.
and earmark money to pay for it.
Yeah, once they
What,
can ever get a hold
what
of this
if they
person.
get a hold of
So
this person and say, well, that's not enough?
then
Do they
it
apply
turns
the
into
eminent
a-
domain
then
case?
at some point I would imagine it would go into some kind of court thing. But we really need
they've
to
tried
parking for months
Yeah.
to reach this person, and for whatever
That's a
reason,
tough
they're not able to
situation.
get a hold of them.
But
So,
at least we're going to have some parking up there.
yeah, we'll have some parking, and honestly, that person now has a 25% ownership in an empty parcel. In behind the square, there's not a lot that they really have there.
Right,
So
right. So
they don't have a majority on.
let's just talk
so.
practical stuff,
yeah.
Josh. Since the Glass Hollow Tavern has opened up, I've driven by and looked during their hours. The place, I mean, there's a lot of cars up there.
I was there last night. The square is packed on a
Yes,
Friday
it
night.
is.
Yeah.
So this is very much needed. And when the Fly has their stuff going on, and you've got that venue up there, then you
Mhm.
put the Grindstone Cowboy. That's got to be done.
It's got to be, yeah, and that's just phase 1. That phase 2 is fixing this stretch of Spring
The
Street,
street.
which I think is going to eventually be pedestrian only, and then phase 3 is an additional 42 spaces that will wrap up around there once
Right.
the Spring
So,
Street
and then the
part is done.
Grindstone Cowboy construction has a lot to do with when that can be completed. I'm
when
sure.
that can be completed. And if you've looked on Facebook, they've started posting some videos. They are now
Yeah.
up on the rooftop, working on the rooftop bar
Yeah.
part of that. So
I
that's
saw those
coming
trusses
along.
they were
Yeah.
putting up, and they showed a picture of it.
Yeah, so that's finally moving where it looks like more than just an empty shell now. So I think they're making
Right.
some good progress
Okay,
there.
very
So, second item that came up, which I did not personally ask for this item, but I, in my campaign, had pushed for it, and they have decided to put the packets of information on the city website for all the meetings now, which the county's been doing that for a couple of years now.
So this gives full disclosure to the general public.
Disclosure to general public. Whatever the city council's sitting there discussing, you can look at the paperwork that's behind the scenes and say, "Hey, this is what they're talking about." It's
All
not,
right. Thank you,
not-
City of Shelbyville.
yeah, not anymore of this saying, "Hey, this thing that's in your packet." You're like, man, I wish I could see that thing that's
Yeah.
in their packet.
Yeah,
they're talking about.
really.
So
All right.
now they're talking about doing some minor redactions, which the county doesn't post anything that it's even worth redacting, so they don't. But if it has like a person's personal phone number,
Yeah,
email,
sure.
something, they're going to black that out. But the 99% of the information will be out there on the website, and that will be before the meeting even starts. They said in general, they're going to try to have the agenda posted by the Friday before the meeting, and then the packet will be the beginning of the week, like Monday or Tuesday before the meeting, which always happens on a Thursday. So that'll be good. MTS charter changes. This is kind of interesting. This is something they worked on, back in the summer, I think. And they had wanted to make several charter changes. The key one being some people sitting on the current council want to make it where a county employee cannot sit on the city council because they still feel like there's some conflicts there, especially with the lawsuit and what's going on now. They heard back from MTAS, and it sounded like it was a non-committal answer. It was like, we're not sure if that's allowed, if that's not allowed. So it sounds like, and this is probably going to happen once I'm on there, they're going to turn around and have another one of these MTAS charter meetings where they bring MTAS in, they have another discussion, decide do they want to really go forward with these changes, and then push it back to the attorneys again and then say, hey, is this even legal or not? So we'll see where that goes. Yeah. It sounds like, just looking at the calendar and where we're at, if they do this meeting again, it's probably going to be next year. I can't see them trying to squeeze it in December around the holidays. So, but we'll be keeping an eye on that. Big item on the agenda. This brought out 3 people for public comment, which it's a rare meeting that we get 3 public comments at a meeting. And that is the new soccer park over at HV Griffin. They're down to the wire. They have got to have a decision from city council, and it's going to happen at next week's meeting on if they're going to put up the $700. I think it was like $770,000.
The source of the funding, the grant, is up against the wire for a time
crunch on the grant. Okay. Yeah, they're about to hit the 90-day deadline. They've been awarded the grant, the $2.5 million.
Who is actually going to receive that grant? The city of Shelbyville?
The city of Shelbyville gets the grant. It comes from the state of Tennessee, $2.5 million, but they had to match that with $2.5 million of their own dollars. So what they've done is they've taken the value of the property, 1.7 and change, and they're going to count that as part of the match. And then the city is going to vote next week on whether or not to put up $700, and I think it was $770. It's over $700,000 in actual dollars to meet the rest of that match so that they can get that $2.5 million.
Okay, so when they do this, when they take that property, they're not putting it up as collateral. They're actually giving it to somebody?
No, they're just putting it up and saying this is our donation to the project. So
okay, so that property becomes a part of the project.
Yeah, it's part of the project.
So it's basically shoving it over to the
side. Just saying, hey,
it moves it to a different category.
Yeah, we've got skin in the game. We own this property. This is all part of the big project.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, which then leaves us with $3.2 million to actually spend on the property to try to develop it and get it ready for soccer is the deal. So. Honestly, not sure how the vote's going to go. I'm getting the feeling this should pass probably next week, but we won't know till next week till they vote on it. I don't get a vote on it. This is going to happen before I'm.
But let me stop right now. What do you think about this, Josh? As far as this complex being built, and it's going to take a little while, obviously. What kind of impact will that make on the city of Shelbyville as far as tax, tourist revenue, hotel, motel tax, that type of thing? What are you hearing?
This is phase 1. So when this is done, all you're going to have is bare soccer fields with no amenities, no lights, just a parking lot.
Wow.
And for $3.2 million, it's mainly the groundwork. So this will be enough, and this is 2 years to complete this phase 1, is what they're telling me. So they would at that point be able to host, say, daytime rec soccer kind of thing, and maybe some daytime rec soccer tournaments.
So that's not going to be bringing a lot of people to town for
that part.
Overnight.
Not a ton, but it could bring some. It could be a start.
Yeah.
So and then at that point, they've got to decide if they can get some corporate sponsors and then probably more taxpayer money to do it up all the way, which all the way means lights. Probably fencing. I would say bleachers.
So there won't be any fencing in this first.
I'd say it'd be very limited if there is. Wow. Maybe there's one around the whole thing. It's basically going to be a big flat area where you could have 6 soccer fields, and it will have parking. And I think even the parking is mainly gravel in the first phase.
Sure.
So I'm I'm kind of torn. I hate, obviously, taxpayer dollars is always important. It sounds like, from what I'm hearing, that 770, it's going to take them 2 years. So hopefully that could be split over 2 budgets. And at that point, that's not a huge investment for what you're going to get. You're going to get a lot more value out of it than that.
Right.
So I think that point, it's okay. But past there, they've really got to dig and look for some kind of corporate money, because the full deal that they talked at the front end was
$15 million,
$14 million.
Yeah.
So we don't have that kind of money in the city budget to do all of that without some kind of outside help.
Right.
So, and maybe that's more grants. Maybe that's grants down the road or whatever. But I'd say this phase seems like a pretty no-brainer, and I think it's going to pass.
We throw these terms of we throw the term grant out there like it's just money out of the sky. That grant money comes out of taxpayers' pockets from somewhere.
It does. It comes from state taxpayer money.
Exactly.
So,
Which we live in the state, so I'm quite sure
it came
it's
from
our money
sales tax.
too.
It was the 7%
Right.
part of sales tax that goes up to the state.
So
where that came
so
from.
that money is coming out of our pocket anyway. That grant it's just being funneled back to us through
it's still our money.
To the state
It's
filter.
still our money. Yeah, the only good part is it's our money coming back to Shelbyville
Right.
instead of our money going to a grant to Murfreesboro.
We ought to apply for as many as possible.
as many
of
as we
those grants.
can. Yeah, because
But
they're
this
just going to go to
matching
another
stuff,
city.
stuff, though, I get it. I understand the concept of why they want to do that.
Yeah, they don't
I'm
want you just taking money
yeah.
and not spending any money and just
Right.
asking.
Yeah.
So they want you.
All
in
right,
it
so
as
I just
well.
want everybody
So-
to understand. I mean, there's a lot of misconceptions in people's minds. Oh, that's just free money. No, it's not.
Yeah,
You
it's
did
not
it.
money
You
out of
paid
the
for
sky.
it.
It's it's
You
still your
paid
sales
for it.
tax revenue, but at least it's coming back into your community instead.
Right.
It's going to go to some communities.
Right.
So we'd prefer it goes to ours. So only other 2 things, which was the majority of the rest of the agenda, was there was one little item. We've got some property owners that they have tried in city court to get them to clean up their property, and they're just being boneheaded and they won't do it. So, and they didn't mention anybody by name, but if you've driven around town and seen some really bad looking properties, some of those property owners are about to get taken to the next level. They're going up to a court that actually has some enforcement powers.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have to shape up, or they're gonna have some serious fines. I think city court, your fine max is like $50 a day or something. So,
Well,
But-
let's talk about this just for a second. I understand that there's a push to try to clean things up.
right.
We are in some economic times, however, that you find an elderly person
Mm-hmm.
in a home that's run down because they don't have family and they don't have anybody to do it, and they don't have the money to do it. I would hope that those, this is an exception
Right.
in my opinion,
Yeah.
because I know some elderly ladies in their 80s and 90s, they have no resources whatsoever to pay. They're forced to pay property taxes
Yep.
or medicine. I know I actually have stumbled across some that they don't even have food,
Yeah.
and they're paying for medications. It's crazy. And then they do good. They get volunteers to do the lawn mowing.
Do lawn work and stuff.
And there's a crisis here that I would think that churches would like to jump into and help.
Yeah, and I would
And-
hope that our codes people and our city people, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're actually going into these situations and looking at them, and not just going to the road and taking a picture and then taking
Right.
them to a serious
All these
court.
situations have a story behind them.
Yeah, they have an individual.
And-
And it's different if it's just a guy that's obstinate and just is like, I'm not going to do what the government tells me, versus a little old lady that's
Right.
just down on her luck
Right.
and needs some help. So,
And there's a lot of that.
yeah.
I see it, and
Right.
there's churches that are out trying to help, but this is an opportunity for even more
For more to help
people to step up and help their neighbors, and
Yeah.
I like to see that to take place in those instances. So just an encouragement to everybody to look around and be aware of what's going
Yeah,
on.
know your neighbor. Yeah, if if you got a neighbor that their grass is, got issues,
There's
go over
probably a
and-
reason.
There might be a reason. Go talk to them. Maybe
Yeah.
they just are down on their luck and their mower's broke down. They don't have the money to fix it.
Yeah.
Go offer to cut their grass for them.
So I don't want to anybody in the court system or with government to
Right.
think I'm criticizing this move. It's
Yeah.
necessary, but what I'm trying to do is encourage people just to be neighborly.
Be neighborly.
If you belong to a church that needs a project, look for those because they're out there.
Oh yeah, they're out there. They're all even in my neighborhood. We've had a couple that got overgrown, and a neighbor would just go talk to them and say, "Hey, do you need a hand?" And they'll cut their grass for them or something. And we've got people I know a neighbor that he's doing just what you're saying. His church, they're going into a lady's home, and they every
Just,
couple weeks they cut her grass and stuff for her because she's a widow and just doesn't have the means
just
to take care of
experienced
it.
a
So,
situation where there's a single mom with 3 small children that is really struggling financially, and now there's a health issue with the mom to where there's 3 children in play and a home to upkeep and nobody working. I mean, it's a bad situation, and that's where we have to help our fellow man.
Yep, absolutely. So, other than that on the agenda, the rest of it was all rezonings and de-annexations. For whatever reason, we got more people moving out of the city this month than coming into the city. So, all of that stuff was non-controversial, and it'll all pass. 6-0. There won't be no votes on any of that. And other than that, that was the week that just happened as far as meetings and stuff. So I think we're going to hear from Mr. Dennis Young one more time, and then we're going to talk about what's coming up next week.
All right, we'll be right back.
With the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 1988.
All righty, welcome back to the weekend wrap up, the news that matters. Josh, upcoming week, what's going on?
Upcoming week, just a reminder that not even upcoming week, but upcoming today, 11 o'clock, Veterans Day Parade on the square. Get down there and
in 25 minutes.
25 minutes, I'll be there. I got plenty of time to get over there. Tuesday night, 7 o'clock at the historic courthouse on the square. We got the county commission meeting.
Is that the newly lit courthouse?
Not newly lit yet.
Not
I
yet.
don't think the lights are
I
in
can't
there.
wait.
I know you're anxious
Are
for
they
the
going to
lights.
have a ceremony?
Well, there is a ceremony in December, but from everything we've heard, the lights aren't ready in time for that. So
Oh.
maybe we'll get a second ceremony for the lights.
All right,
So
keep me posted.
I'll
I've
keep
got
you
to be
posted.
there.
I know you want to see the lights. At this Tuesday meeting, just quick point, because I talked about it, I think, a couple weeks ago with Bill. This is going to be a vote on whether or not we pay our county commissioners an additional $600 to do the mandatory training that they're already supposed to be doing. So this
You brought this up, Josh.
go ahead if you want to say
All
something.
right,
on
so
that.
here's my question.
Yeah.
This is in the form of a question.
Okay,
Let's just suppose I want to run for county commission,
right,
and I look at what it takes to be a county commissioner.
yeah,
I know I'm a representative of the people, but there's some training that's involved in this, and it's not a surprise,
Yeah.
right?
It's
I'm
not
going to
surprise
know that
training.
when I get elected, I've got to do this.
Yeah, 8 hours a year is what the current requirement
8 hours
is.
a year.
Yeah.
That equals to how much a day? I don't know. Don't tell me. But
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
probably got it calculated in your head. But I know that's going up front.
Right.
Okay. Do I get any type of monthly compensation for being a county commissioner?
Yeah, they do get a stipend. I do not know the dollar amount. It's a few $100s.
It's not a lot.
It's not a lot.
It's
No.
not. But I'm not
Yeah.
there for the money.
No.
I'm there
hopefully
to
not.
serve the public. I'm
Sure.
there to represent the public. And I need to do this training so that I don't step out of bounds when the law is concerned. I
Right.
got to know kind of how to represent.
Yeah, hopefully you know
legally.
what you're doing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's part of the process. That's part of being a county commissioner.
Correct.
Why on earth would I have to have a check handed to me to entice me or bribe me to do what I was already committed to do?
You wouldn't think you would have to. And as we discussed, Bill and I, a couple weeks ago, 9 of our 11 commissioners were meeting the requirement already without the bribes. So,
Wait,
yeah.
11 commissioners.
Not if you've been there more than
Your grandfather?
8 years.
Okay.
Well, they figure if you've already been there 8 years,
You know what you're doing. Okay, all right,
And
okay.
if you were there before a certain, like 2008, I think it was. They
Okay.
figure you
So
already know
out
what
of the
you're doing.
11, 9 of them are doing this. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not a lot of money. I get it.
Right.
But the principle of paying somebody to do what they're already supposed to be getting paid for to do makes no sense. And I hear, well, the state law will allow it, or somebody even said mandated.
They're
Are
not
you kidding me?
mandated.
No.
They did recommend it.
Okay,
Recommend
the
was
state
the
will
word they
recommend
used.
you to go broke spending money as well. All right,
Right,
and I'm on a soapbox real quick here.
That's okay.
I just don't see how a taxpayer can sit here and not jump out of their seat if they're paying attention to this.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
This is your job, okay?
Yeah.
And I love you all to death, okay?
Yeah.
But if you vote for this, It's not a good look, guys.
We'll find out Tuesday night
Come
at
on,
7 o'clock at
hey.
the courthouse. You can watch it on YouTube as well if you can't get down there.
NFL Today used to have a part they called "Come On, Man."
Come on, man. I remember
All right,
that.
this is a come on, man.
Yeah.
All right,
Well,
all right.
We're going to
I'm
find out.
off my soapbox
Tuesday
now.
night,
All
7
right.
o'clock. Come
Here
on
we
down
go.
to the courthouse and see what your commissioner
Yeah.
thinks about if they should get another $600 a year.
Okay, and
Um,
again, that's not a lot of money.
It's not a ton
It's
of
not
money.
that. It's
No,
just if it was $1, I would still be screaming.
yeah, it's not much
Don't
money.
do this, guys. Come on, man.
We'll see. Wednesday is the grand opening of Music City Cartplex. Not a whole lot to say other than it's happening. I will mention that now that they're about to open, they've posted prices and everything. Just if you're going to go down there and ride a go-kart, just so you know, it's $30 a race on weekdays and $35 a race on weekends, I believe is what I saw on the
All right,
website.
one
So,
little shout out to these folks.
Yeah.
Hey, it seems like just a little while ago you posted where this was coming.
right. And now they're opening.
They're opening.
Yeah.
Hats off to a business that moves
Oh,
and
yeah, they
takes
move
care
quick.
of business quick.
Yeah, they were.
Okay, you see
Yeah.
so many of these announcements come out, and it's a year, and then it's a year,
Right.
and then it's another year, and it never happens.
Right.
These people are legit.
Oh, yeah, they're on it.
Go and support this.
Yeah, go ride your go kart.
Exactly.
Yeah, and those are not bad prices. I took
No.
my son to the indoor one in Nashville. I want to say we paid more
Hey,
than $30.
this is not
for
an
that
amusement park situation.
race. No, these are going
They're
50 miles
real.
an hour. You're wearing
They're
a
real.
helmet. There's roll bars. This is
But
serious.
hats
So-
off to Music City Cartplex.
Yes.
They got it going on.
And speaking of businesses that we're still not sure are ever going to open, but I just had to point out, I'm driving to Murfreesboro again to get my hair cut this week, and lo and behold, they have moved dirt on the property at Tennessee Downs. So I don't know if that means it's something's happening. They moved some dirt around. So that's all I'm saying. I don't know how close they are to doing anything serious over there, but they've done more than photo ops, which is all they had done in the past.
Well, it's
So,
kind of died down, and you
Yeah.
hadn't heard anything. For
hadn't
a
heard
good while.
anything for months.
You
So
saw a conception drawing and
yeah, we've
plans.
seen plans and stuff, but to actually see a couple pieces of heavy equipment and dirt moved around, I'm like, either that or maybe they've been taking hay off it. Maybe they just need to turn the dirt over.
Let's
but,
look at this
yeah.
situation, Josh. When they first came out, it was been, what, 3 or 4 years ago
It's
they
been,
came
a
out.
while.
Okay, so you look at the economic situation, and we're talking about high end customers here.
Very high.
You're taking a high risk doing
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
with the economic situation that have developed. I've got to think that investors have paused and said, let's wait and see how this economy plays out.
Sure.
I think this is an economic issue as far as the delay here.
Right.
Hopefully, now that it looks like our country is turning a corner here, maybe some of this stuff starts to develop.
Maybe it does. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll find out.
Just
But
a thought. That's just
yeah,
a thought.
That's definitely one possibility. So, and then last, which I put the wrong day on my rundown, but I do know when it is because I go to these. Thursday at 6:00 is the city council meeting. We do not have an agenda yet. Actually, I got an email, I think it was Friday night, now that I'm about to be on the council, saying that just because the study session was so late it normally would be on Tuesday because it got pushed to Thursday, they just don't have the agenda ready. But it will be, the big thing on the agenda we already know is going to be the soccer vote. They've got to vote on that.
What
soccer
about the
arena.
changes to the city charter?
That is going to require another special meeting where they'll meet at noon and
That's a
back
fundamental
and
change
forth.
for
So-
our local city government here.
It is, and it wasn't just the thing about the county employees. It was also, I'm trying to remember some of the points they were trying to say. Because you and I talked about it. It was the property voting rights, whether or not somebody that owns multiple properties in the city should be able to bounce
Right.
around and vote in a different ward every 2 years
Yes.
versus just being able to vote
Making
every
one
4 years.
one claim to
Yeah.
where, yeah.
As if like normal people that live in the city can do. And then there was also something about maybe the Power and Water Board, if they were going to tighten up those restrictions, make you have to live in the city to sit on that board, because there's a lot of those board members that live in the county.
I see.
But all of that seemed like nobody was real certain at the study session, so they've decided I think they're going to get probably the new council will get back
Right.
together and put their heads together and decide if they want to make these changes. But other than that, those are my big items on the agenda for next week, and we'll be right back here next week at the same time, same place, same channel with the news that matters, and probably something will come out of left field like a kid in a jumpsuit running around, and we'll cover that here as well.
All right.
So
And just a reminder, our scanner is finally back up and running properly.
police scanner is working on the website.
and that's picking up county now more than it was. The
Yeah.
environment that the actual scanner location was in was under some metal.
Right.
It was sketchy as far as it actually the county reception got to be nothing.
Right. You
But
couldn't hear it.
it's
Yeah.
back up now, full throttle. So if you have listened to that over the last year or so and enjoyed that and have maybe turned it off or forgot about it, it's there now. So we encourage you to go check that out if that's something you like to do.
Yeah. It's
Because we don't talk about specific like fires and individual police stops when we cover stuff unless
Yeah.
it's a major impact on the community.
unless it's a bomb threat at the
Right,
high school or
right.
something. Yeah.
So those little things that maybe some people enjoy keeping up with,
Yeah.
that's a place to go. You can hear it in real time.
Yep. Hear it as it happens.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week,
We will.
10 o'clock, Saturday morning, same place, same time, with a lot.